people. You've got young kids from the age of 4, most young kids are being sent off to Chinese language boarding schools where they are indoctrinated with some Chinese propaganda. They're not being taught in Tibetan. And the Chinese know that it's just a matter of time before they just want to completely erase Tibetan culture. The Dalai Lama, who is turning 90 this year, he fled to India and Dharamsala in 1959 and continued to be a beacon of hope for the Tibetan community. And the other really interesting thing about Tibet, I think, is their commitment to non-violence. So you have got this, awful genocidal action ongoing, but that commitment to non-violence and to be resisting and continuing to resist. One of the other areas that I've worked on in recent years is the Philippines. We have just had former President Duterte arrested by the International Criminal Court. One of the things that gives me hope that perhaps there is some, international law mechanisms that will come down on people. I mean, Duterte with the killings of, extrajudicial killings of thousands and thousands of people under the so-called drug laws. Current President Marcos Jr., who is still continuing on those policies of Duterte. And obviously people might remember that I got chucked out of the House of Representatives this time last year for protesting against Ferdinand Marcos Jr., who was invited to address a joint sitting of the Parliament, which I was just astounded by. And so, I had a very genteel protest of raising a sign that said, "What about human rights?" And yes, got turfed out, which I'm very proud to do, and we'll do it again in a heartbeat. And so you've got these strong man leaders that are really riding roughshod over communities, who basically they are incredibly racist, sexist, homophobic, transphobic, and they have got power being brought about through violence and really oppressing peoples all around the country, all around the world. So I might just invite our panellists just to share some of the other places where they're being particularly concerned about.
I'm sure everybody has been keeping an eye on what's been going on in Palestine.
If you continue to do what you've done, we'll continue to
Well, this goes both ways, right?
So the gang who's around the corner starting the African Library, I've connected him with so many different groups, Palestinian groups and other African groups, and we'll just connect you with the coolest people. You just hang out with us, volunteer, give you time. I'm not joking. Give it a week, you'll meet so many people.
And certainly, going out and doing some door knocking as a 15-year-old person of Tibetan culture, and just saying I'm volunteering for the Greens and listening to people and knowing why you are committed is such a powerful thing to do.
But look, I think as a young person, you kind of always, especially at your age, I think always hear the, oh, you're too young, nobody will listen to you kind of narrative. I fundamentally disagree with that. At the end of the day, you will one day be on a panel like this. You will be running potentially for a seat in a federal or state election, right? So you can and should feel like you can use your voice in whatever way you see fit. And there are a lot of young people that you can actually look at for inspiration. I mean, for the Palestine movement, we have young activists that are organising school walkouts. And many other things. Greta Thunberg is an amazing example for a lot of young people as well. And I think she was around your age when she started with her activism and strikes and stuff. So never feel like you're too young to use your voice and to advocate for things that you feel like are important to you. Whether it be on social media, whether it be organising an event, whether it be speaking somewhere or door knocking, whatever the case might be. But start with educating yourself. I think that that's really important, and connecting with other people. Finding a good mentor is really helpful as well sometimes. But otherwise, just go with your gut and do what you feel like needs to be done. Because sometimes there is a vacuum and people are not doing the work that needs to be done. And who says it can't be you?
Yes.
Thank you, Sarah. Okay, we've got the last comment or question from no.
I'm not really good at talking on the spot, so just...
I'm a 15-year-old Spider-Man kid, and
You're 15.
yeah, 15. As a underage person, we can't really do voting and things like that, and we can't also create as big an impact as a lot of other people here.
Not true.
But I wanted to ask, what can other people around my age or even younger do to help for causes such as all the other places, well, but all the other places that are struggling, are fighting for human rights, things like that. What can we do?
Do other community groups here, Filipino crew, who else is here? Sophia, do you want to answer this one?
Very beautiful for your questions. I'm Chinese. I'm here. I'm a migrant too. I'm living here 30 years, and I also have been 2 times of a candidate for Friends in Box Hill and in Deakin. Deakin is federal and Box Hill is state. And the Box Hill's result is beautiful. We turned Box Hill from liberal to labor. So progress in Box Hills now, and the benefit for that from where the result from is I visited the high school there, Kunong College, just on the Alga Road. Kunong College, of course, all under 18. So why I targeted there? Because there's a public school, and the school is run down by the Liberal Party, Liberal MPs there. Never give a cent to that public school for 30 years. When I learned that, so I visited the principals. The principals explain me why this high school can be this.
Sophia?
I visited the parents and tell parents what you should do for the Box Hill. And then now the Box Hill College is benefit for the teenager. So you can do the door knocking, and also you can help your parents to understand the policy of Australia. That's what you can do.
You know, delivering aid and getting the wounded out of war zones and stuff. We did it for about 2 months, and he's had a gut for him later. And went back to his land. And on the way he bought this seagoing rowboat. And he decided to row the boat across the Pacific to show President Bush.
Other people nearby, just sort of being present in their lives and modelling that activist behaviour. And the kids are going to pick it up. Speaking of my second child here, who's done a great job organising.
We want to be good ancestors, is to really connect with people who also turn up for the same things that we do, and to be really clear about what we care about. We train hundreds of door knockers for this campaign, and one of the key things is getting people to clearly articulate why they've turned up for the Greens, because that is your personal reason, and that's something that other people will hear and understand. So my kids are seeing me.
I'm not a parent myself, but I'd like to see a legacy that's left behind for everyone else's children where possible. I think being amongst a working class area, growing up in the West Side and working in the West Side, we hear a lot of challenges with working class families, especially migrant refugee families,
Louder, Mum.
who don't know how to talk about politics with their children. So So I guess my question to the room is for parents who already are starting those conversations at the dinner table or answering hard questions, how do you bring that to the table to encourage young children and young adults to feel as though they have a safe space at the table as well?
I said this to Erin today. Erin's like, what are you handing down to your children? I would like to think that I would have the same politics if I didn't have children.
For some questions and comments. At the end of that, anybody that hasn't sort of written your name down on a sheet of paper to say how you're going to help, I'll invite you to do so. But we've got a roving mic somewhere. It's behind me, says Leon. Thank you to our volunteers who have
respectfully have the first couple of speakers be women or young people, maybe prioritise people from the West. And if you feel like, I don't have anything important to say, that's the patriarchy. So even if you tell us what's on your heart as you've been listening to this conversation, it's worth hearing from you.
Yeah. So Leon's got the mic. Who would like to make any comment or question?
Hong, did you want to say something? I can see Erin Chu out there from Being Asian Australian, who interviewed me today in my messy, messy house.
So on Palestine and then increasing ties, sucking up to China, Indonesia, across the board, opening up new coal and gas mines in the face of climate emergency, which is heading us to disaster. This election really matters. Which is why it's worth it over the next 5 weeks to be really
liberation practice, that we can learn from this. And once people know that you can create change for nothing, literally nothing, I think that's where the revolution comes from.
Can I just add something quickly? I think that sometimes, especially people that are new to activism, they expect change to happen overnight. One protest is going to solve all of the world's problems.
Why hasn't anything changed?
Yeah, why hasn't anything changed? A lot of these issues have been in existence for generations, and they will take generations to dismantle. But it doesn't mean that we give up. It doesn't mean that we become apathetic. It means that we need to continue to resist.
And be good ancestors, right?
Do you think we could do more at bringing together the diverse activist campaigns? I mean, one of the things that I'm really pleased with is, for example, tonight that we have got Palestinians and Tibetans here together, Filipinos, the whole range of people who generally are working individually. And I know, when I speak up about Tibet, there are some people who will then, attack me on social media to tell me how awful US imperialism is, which is absolutely true. So therefore we need to be a bit softer on China because, it's either China or the US. Whereas I see this pattern and you've got these strongman despots who, regardless of their political persuasion, are doing awful things. So
and they'll just keep replacing themselves.
Yeah. So what more could we do, do you reckon, to be bringing the various activist campaigns and those solidarity campaigns together?
Just one thought. I mean, I've been heavily involved in the climate movement the last few years, and I adore Greta Thunberg and how she has kind of in front of us all done this incredible transformation to show that she understands that we cannot have climate justice without justice everywhere, and that the reason that we have this climate emergency is because of colonialism. It is because of conflicts like what the Israelis have done, what the CCP is doing in Tibet, what is happening in West Papua. It is this relentless drive of colonialism and profit, and to see that these struggles are intertwined and we can't win one without the other. That's my criticism for the Teals, who really pissed me off. And we'll see a lot of them this election trying to, jump in on some of these issues. But at the end of the day, the class struggle is part of a lot of these issues that we're working on. So I would love to see, bring more of our climate partners here in Australia to our fight against this genocide. I was at Greenpeace and we were trying to get them to put a statement out against the genocide. The European Greenpeace did it very quickly. They were fantastic. But a lot of the others are still too scared to speak out. So if you're in any of those movements, if you're in any of those groups, please prioritise speaking out against this genocide because they're all connected.
Yeah, I definitely agree with Sophie. All of our movements are interconnected, and I think that that's one of the things that I'm really proud about the pro-Palestinian movement is that we actually platform.
I was one of the founders of the Greens 30 years ago, and one of the, almost a sense of relief when I'm working as a Green is that I can be working on all of these issues all at once. I don't need to pick and choose. I know that by building green political power, we can be building power to be tackling all of these issues and holistically. The final wrapping up question is we have an election that's been called today for the 3rd of May, 5 weeks' time, and I just wanted the panel to talk about what are the opportunities for taking action does a federal election bring, and what does it give you hope?
Still feel like we could turn out for Palestine, not hesitate to build a community garden on the same weekend that we're going to the Sunday Nard rally. I feel like it's all a part of the same movement. This is what we're building out here. So that's what I think the opportunity of this election is.
Fantastic. And Nada, I mean, as you're saying, Holm, not paying attention to what Labor are doing, but Labor have been silent on the genocide. Oh, that's the best that they've been, and in silent the genocide. As people have said, we haven't got sanctions against Israel. Labor is basically solidifying and increasing
victim blaming.
Yep.
And sorry.
Go on. Yes.
I think the other thing too is we got to be careful. They're not another breed of human. That could be us. We could get very comfortable in our activism, and we could get very comfortable and say, oh, maybe that's not super relevant, or if we get to a point where, I don't know, a lot of these Labor people have been union people, they've been people working for social justice, and somehow, I'm thinking of Peter Garrett, I'm thinking about Jake Carney, somehow they're just institutionalised in a way where they can sleep at night somehow and toe a line that is perpetuating complicitly, like in an act of genocide. They're seeing the same Instagram feeds as us. They're hearing the same atrocities, and they're still being.
It seems too difficult, but we have to tackle it. How do we do it?
Can I just can we hold that thought lightly? Perhaps people, we can't help but think about it because it's in our faces. Honestly, I think if we can start building a movement that believes change is possible and can prove to ourselves every day of the week that resistance is worth it, that we won't let these actions go without remarking on them at least, then I feel like we will start to then uplift people who are ready to do the hard things. Like XR, for example. Go nuts, disrupt, do illegal shit.
Brings me to, we've got stuff happening all over the world. I mean, some other areas we haven't mentioned are West Papua, which is occupied by the Indonesians, Myanmar, which the world seems to have just accepted that the dictators have taken over again. You've got other oppressive states like in Iran, Saudi Arabia. It's not limited to one group of particular countries. It's colonialism essentially, and it's strongman leaders that are happy to just ride roughshod over communities and with their violence. But we've had all of this stuff has happened, this history has happened. It's obviously happened in Australia as well. And so I'm interested to know your thoughts on, picking up on that sort of, mycelium of resistance, how we move forward. How do we tackle it? Because it just seems so overwhelming. And I know from...
It seems like this moment the veil is dropping on the billionaire class, the corporate interests. Because I was researching AUKUS, and I just couldn't believe we're giving away our sovereignty, and billions of dollars, at least 75 over the next 10 years, and we might not even get bloody anything from it, literally submarines. And so I was looking it up, and I realised that, and then I was listening to a podcast on artificial general intelligence, right? So we're getting to a point where we want, there's a bit of apparently a race between China and the US, in broad strokes, to make artificial intelligence smarter than humans, right? Now we aren't able to ethically deal with the fact that the Australian government is complicit in a genocide that's happening.
I thought I'd talk a little bit about what's happening on the ground in Western Australia, because it doesn't get much attention, but it actually really impacts you guys and what's happening here, because some of the worst, most evil stuff in this country is going on there, and you don't really hear about it. So what is AUKUS? So I live in South Freo, the city of Coburn, and what I'm going to get 10 minutes from my house, if we don't band together and stop this, is a massive new US nuclear submarine base. So this is a gorgeous part of Fremantle. It's where Garden Island is. My 14-year-old goes there crabbing, you go there fishing, sailing, and it's going to become a no-go zone. It's going to become a place where they store nuclear waste, and the worst part is how further entrenched we become with the US military. So the next mad operation that Trump wants to carry out, the next genocide, the South China Sea, Taiwan, who knows? My little town is going to be right there in the middle of it if we don't stop this mad AUKUS deal. And I think, we have these amazing
패션제 것은 좋아할래. Gumusiya tapi ngap di tensar ko. Madrasa di in the coachless. Speak Jurita. Dece. Dita lo, dita.
Oh, that's cool.
Ooh. Kal çıkıyor da o da. Ya o beni de.